The state of California is experiencing historic levels of rain and snowfall, and according to AccuWeather, causing up to $34 billion in damage.
Yeah, $34 billion with a B. Ironically, this comes as California also faces what has been called the worst dry spell in more than 1,200 years. So joining us now to discuss the situation from Sacramento is the director of the California Department of Water Resources, Karla Nemeth. Karla, thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
So the weather's finally started to clear up in parts of the state earlier this week. I know a lot of people were happy about that. Where do things currently stand and what happens next for the state?
Well, we are very glad to be drying out finally in California after 3 weeks of 9 separate atmospheric rivers that blew in from the Pacific Ocean. And now what we're really focused on is helping our communities that suffered so much from flooding, downed trees, and the intensity of these storms. So it's really about helping those communities dig out so we can get kids back to school, people back to work, and make sure that everyone continues to stay safe.
Madam Director, as you pointed out recently, California is facing both a drought emergency and flood emergency at the same time. What does this mean for the state's water supply issues?
Right, we are. We did essentially move from about the driest 3 years on record to potentially the wettest 3 weeks on record. And what that means is all this rain has made a terrific dent in our drought, but we don't really have the full picture yet. We're very early in our wet season here in California, and one of the signals of climate change is that when it's not really raining, it's actually drying out with a greater intensity than we've experienced. So we have several snow surveys of our Sierra Nevada mountain range, and that's going to give us a much fuller picture of how these storms have impacted the drought and whether or not we're really out of the woods. But it's a terrific start.
And Director Nemeth, we mentioned that hefty $34 billion damage estimate. Where is this money needed the most? And can you walk us through what the recovery process looks like?
We're focused on areas that experienced the most intensity of these storms. We had gusts up to 70 miles an hour, really hurricane force winds coming through, lots of downed trees, and that is due in part because of the intensity of the drought that preceded these storm events. Lots of trees were very stressed from the dry condition, so we had an enormous number of trees fall, cause significant damage to homes and roadways. And then in addition, levee breaches with the intensity of these storm events in communities that generated flooding. We've had evacuation of schools. So all of that is going to require significant investment to get these communities back on their feet. And then we're really looking towards the long term and the things that we need to do here in California to invest in our infrastructure, both for water supply and for flooding.
Those storms leaving a big mess across the state there. President Biden will visit California this Thursday to meet with local officials and first responders and to assess the damage there. What do you hope is accomplished from his visit?
Well, we're very grateful for the partnership that we have already with the Biden administration and the urgency with which they declared a disaster here in California. So we anticipate more of that strong partnership, certainly a partnership on recovery, but also a partnership on infrastructure investment. Here in California, Governor Newsom has fast-tracked $8.5 billion in infrastructure spending, and it's these kinds of infrastructure programs that are really going to get California, on its feet and ready to manage water in our new climate reality.
And Director, people at home are seeing some of the video of some of that damage. It's really hard to see. Some cities in the state have experienced more than twice as much rainfall this winter compared to previous years. So is there any way for California to prepare for this type of event in the future?
It really is incredible, the amount of rain that fell in California, and that in and of itself, the intensity of the dryness, the suddenness of the shift into record rainfall, that is very much on our research agenda for climate and how we can prepare better to deal with these kinds of weather events in California. There are several investments that we've made that helped right now with this series of storm events, prevented it from being much worse. That is the research that we've done into atmospheric rivers, where we get C-130s flying out over the Pacific Ocean and dropping sensors into the middle of these storms to understand better their intensity and what's coming with them. That enables us to prepare much better on the ground. Lots of future investment in improving those forecasts, particularly the long-term forecasts. That's going to help us develop the right infrastructure so that we can capture this water and use it during prolonged droughts, because we know these extreme storm events also come with extreme and long dry periods. And that's what we're focused on in preparing California for the future.
California Department of Water Resources Director Karla Nemeth, thank you so much.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.